Welcome to Fashion Reverie Talks. I'm Tiana Ibrahimovic.
And I am Cicely Daniels.
Fashion Reverie takes you from the front lines of fashion to the front row.
All of Fashion Reverie Talk segments are based on published content found on fashionreverie.com.
So remember, if you want more information on the segments, go to fashionreverie.com. And if you like this episode, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button on the episode of YouTube. Cicely, we are so glad to have you back while you're in the cast of Broadway's Pirates of Penzance, starring with David Hyde Pierce.
It's Pirates of Penzance, Tiana. It's good, but actually, we're an adaptation called Pirates the Penzance musical, and we opened on Thursday on Broadway, and it is so good to be back. In this episode, we are so happy to have Fashion Reverie Associate Editor Kristopher Fraser, who will talk about his article, Fashion Faces the Aftermath of Trump's Tariffs. And we chat with Fashion Reverie Editor-in-Chief William Gooch about his preview of the 2025 Met Gala. But let's start, as always, with our fashion news. All of our news segments are based on the fashion news alerts found on fashionreverie.com.
Okay, so I'm going to kick this episode off with our fashion news. And yes, Cicely, you'll have to tell me a few more times to remember how to pronounce correctly.
Penzance. Yeah, girl, I got you because you're going to come to the show.
I can't wait. Then I'll certainly remember. But let's kick it off with some fashion news. So Capezio, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right in American English, but has been acquired by Argan Partners, and it's a New York-based private equity firm. They also own Ballet Makers, Inc., and all of its subsidiaries. And so they have been around since 1887, owned by family Terlizzi and Giacoio, and they're based in Totova, New Jersey. So family members will continue their relationship with the brand and will feature new product lines, brand collaborations, and partnerships. So they will still be very hands-on. And for those that are in the dancing industry, they know this brand very well. They're known for the ballet slippers and some other garments that dancers wear. While I was doing the research, I also saw that they have like some cool pantyhose that seem to last longer than the rest. So I might as well just
I
join
feel like,
fans.
yeah, Capezio dance tights, especially, I think the ultra stretch, if you're wearing them in the winter time, like they will last you a long time. They are so smooth and nice. So, yeah, I feel like from the dance side of my life, I grew up with Capezio and still wear them to this day. So,
That's
you
good to
know,
know. I'll definitely give it a try.
uh-huh,
It seems
uh-huh.
like they tighten everything too. So
Yeah, for sure. Well, in my news, I get to talk about Jerry Hall. So a lot of times when people think about Jerry Hall, they think about who she dated or was married to with Mick Jagger and being married to Rupert Murdoch. But she's also a supermodel in her own right from the 70s and 80s. And she is still dipping back into fashion. You know, she's a mother and she's going to celebrate her new gig. It's a new gig at Burberry. And she's a mother and a grandmother. She looks amazing. And so this is like a heartfelt ode to family and the bonds that unite us. And I think that's a beautiful sentiment. And so there will be a new gig with Burberry, and they will have a gifting selection that will feature the Highlands family of bags, motifs from the Burberry check, and the new night stamp as signature branding. And these are styles that have coated finish, inspired by rainwear with a lot of new silhouettes. So it should be an exciting collection.
Oh, that's very cool. I like
Yeah.
Jerry Hall, and I love it that she kind of doesn't overexpose herself all the time. Like you don't
Yeah.
see her often. So
Right.
the fact that she's doing this campaign is pretty cool because, we haven't seen her do anything like that in a while.
It's
And she's
definitely a
really
choice. So I'm sure it's going to be, specific items that she approves and, is really supports.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we have another designer, John Varvatos, is back in New York City, and he first opened his namesake store in 2000 on Mercer Street. However, he is returning to New York City to Soho district, and it will feature a more like luxurious upscale store with some antique rolling racks found in Paris flea markets, some vintage custom designed furniture in leather, wood, and steel. So,
Ooh.
um, it will be located on Worcester Street, and it will display the brand's ready-to-wear collections, including leather and tailored clothing, accessories, footwear, and fragrance, as well as a special anniversary collection entitled A Love Letter. So I'm
Mm.
excited. He used to do like great little parties. So I hope that comes back as well.
I hope we get invited to the party. I love a man in a John Barbados suit. He always had like really cool suits. I remember like, like that, like that's like a style, like the style of suit I think is just flattering and like always feels like fresh. So,
Right.
you know,
See, well, that's about it for the
yeah,
fashion news alert. Check more at
absolutely.
fashionreverie.com.
All right. Well, I am so excited to. I know that I've had an amazing person filling in for me, not only a friend, but a fashion guru, knowledgeable expert about trends, about what is affecting fashion, what we are all trying to understand in this crazy world that we are living in. So I am so excited to bring back Associate Editor Kristopher Fraser, also my friend, to talk to us about tariffs and fashion. Come on, Kristopher.
Hey, Sesame Girl.
It is so good to
Oh, I
see
got a whole
you.
fanfare this episode.
Oh my goodness, amazing. I love it. I love it. Well, number one, did you have fun hosting while I was gone?
I did. I had some really big Capizio shoes to fill, though, apparently. Those were my first set of tap shoes, I think, when I was in college taking tap dance.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Well, I'm sure anyone who is keeping up with the news has been following, like, I don't know, let's call it the tariff saga. There's been so many ups and downs, so many different things happening at kind of like every day. So, and sometimes it's been on again and off again with the Trump tariffs, and it has had an overall negative impact on the stock markets globally. How is this affecting fashion and the fashion industry?
I would like to prelude this by saying everything I'm discussing, I wrote at the timing of this article several days ago earlier this week.
Hmm.
I do not know what craziness that man and his regime has engaged in this morning, but at the timing of this article, everything I'm about to say was current as of several days ago.
Okay, okay, got it.
But the Trump tariffs are 145% tariffs were put on China on
Ooh,
many imported and exported goods. Um, and then in addition, Cambodia and Bangladesh. And this sent the global markets reeling. The stock market has lost trillions of dollars since Donald Trump took office. And a lot of it was in effect due to these tariffs and investors and financiers running scared.
yeah.
So that had an immediate ripple effect across not just fashion, but many industries. And fashion being such a large part of the global economy, something that major happens to the global economy, we're feeling it in the fashion industry.
Hmm.
On an international level, from now you have brands like Hermes saying they're raising prices 10%. fast fashion brands like Zara, H&M, even Gap, rethinking like, oh, like, are we gonna have to raise prices now that bringing goods over from Asia and a lot of the places where there's a lot of manufacturing, is that going to cost more?
Hmm.
And then those costs are obviously going to get passed on to the American consumers. These
Right,
companies are not going to absorb them. They're
right,
trying to turn a profit. So what are
right.
they going to do? They're going to put that cost over to the consumers, raising the price of goods.
Now, you mentioned the fast fashion kind of side of the industry, which is often made in China, Cambodia, and Bangladesh. And that seems like that's going to be adversely affected. Could you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, with those being such large manufacturing hubs, and imports going up on those costs, is like I had mentioned, we're going to see those costs passed on to consumers. And
Hmm.
also, it also may lead to these companies potentially looking to see like if there are cheaper options for manufacturing in other places, which could end up affecting those economies. Now,
Oh,
what the hypo the what I'm saying right now is, even though I'm not an economist, the incorrect hypothesis with these tariffs is, oh, these companies will reshore manufacturing. Number one, we don't have the infrastructure for that anymore. America has not had that great of a manufacturing infrastructure since the 80s, before I was even born, maybe even earlier than that. And
yeah,
a lot of that at the time was also more automotive anyways. But the
right,
infrastructure that America, basically this was done jackass backwards if they were thinking to reshoring, because in order for that to even be a possibility, we would need the manufacturing infrastructure first, which we don't have.
right, right. So it's unlikely that we're going to be making this fashion in the US in any
Now,
foreseeable
all we're going to
future.
see is more expensive clothes at fast fashion brands.
Hmm. Now, some fashion sustainability advocates contend that the tariffs could be good for the environment. What do you think about that?
I think that's an interesting theory, even though, a lot of these fast fashion companies, unfortunately, are billions of dollars of the economy and plenty of jobs. But one of the theories that sustainability advocates have, and they're hoping that they say happens, is if fast fashion costing so much more, maybe people will turn more to thrifting and investing in clothes that last longer, that don't as quickly end up in landfills. So hoping that would have a domino effect in people buying more consciously
Hmm.
rather than, ordering a new fast fashion top every 3 weeks.
I see. Well, I mean, on the one hand, I definitely don't want to pay more money for literally anything because more money. But of course, it is good. I feel like we just want, I was like, no tariffs, but people still to have like an environmental, to think environmentally about their fashion. That makes more sense. Um,
Yes.
could you speak to the duty-free aspect of these imposed tariffs?
So there used to be a de minimis rule for China where goods under $800 were allowed to be imported over to America for free.
Hmm.
That will no longer be the case now, and some of these items we'll see, I think, either a $30 increase on some, and I think up to 50 on some others. But to fact check that, please go to fashionreverie.com and read my article where
Yes.
those numbers are absolutely accurate.
Yes.
But
No, no, that makes sense though. And that's wild though, because that would be, for certain things, certain items, that's going to be a big like markup, the difference between what it did
huge.
cost and what it will cost
Again,
now.
that's going to be us paying more money. These
Yeah,
companies aren't eating those costs.
yeah,
So,
yeah. And my last big question is, so we talked about fashion. What about the beauty industry? A lot of things are also dealt with out of in other countries, come from overseas. How will that, do you think, be affected by the tariffs?
well, as someone that is dived into a little bit of the Korean beauty skincare usage myself, Korea is about to see an increase under Trump's tariffs in beauty brands. So it's about to cost more for them to send beauty brands over here from
Uh,
Korea.
uh-huh.
And while this might be fine, a lot of these Korean beauty companies, a lot of time they're smaller, more independent companies. They're not like these huge conglomerates, like, a L'Oreal or an Estee Lauder or something, or even like a
Mhm.
major luxury brand that has skincare under it, like a Chanel. And so for smaller companies to now have 10% or higher costs, uh, business people in Korea and people that work in the Korean beauty industry are now saying that some of these brands might be forced to shut down because they can't deal
Oh,
with these like 10% higher costs. These like
right.
very or small independent brands.
Yeah. Oh, I hope that doesn't happen because how are we going to get our new most important best face creams? But like it's so interesting, all of these things are so interconnected
Yes,
and
very much so.
this not one decision, but these decisions about tariffs, it seems like are going to have like global impact in a lot of different ways and we'll all be waiting to see how it all shakes out. I don't know.
Well, who knows what craziness could happen on Monday?
That
There
is.
has been, I think since the timing of this article, there has been another pause on some
Hmm.
of these tariffs going into place,
Hmm.
actually.
Hmm.
So it could be another 3 months before we actually do see more of the ripple effects of these situations.
I mean, I guess I might need to stock up on my K beauty.
I, I would get any clothes, any K beauty, any products that might be subject to these tariffs. I would try to buy as much as I possibly can now before they're 30 to 25% more, 30 to 25 to 30% more, like
Oh my
by
gosh.
like July or August.
Oh my gosh. Well, Christopher, you had a wonderful article that was very informative, a great way to help us think about what's going on, and I appreciate that. Thank you so much for taking time to join us.
Always a pleasure talking with you, Cicely.
You too, darling. Talk to you later.
So, our next guest is editor-in-chief of Fashion Reverie, William Gooch, and we will be discussing the hot topic of the month and the happening of the year, the Met Gala. Welcome, William, to Fashion Reverie Talks.
So good to be here. I apologize. I have a new laptop. Applause. I apologize. I have a new laptop and I'm having issues with the darkness and the color. So, everyone, I'm not green. If you've never seen me before, I'm not green. It's just some challenges. We're going to try to get all this worked out in post production. But yes, Tiana, the Met Gala is May 5th, a little over a week away. And we are so excited because what does that mean? Glamour, innovative garments, tons of celebrities. So we're all excited.
So give us a little history of the Met Gala.
Well, the Met Gala is a fundraiser for the Costume Institute, which is a part of the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City. And it was started in 1948 by the famous fashion publicist Eleanor Lambert. And for those who don't know who Eleanor Lambert is, Eleanor Lambert actually started New York Fashion Week in 1944. It was called Press Week. So she is the founder of New York Fashion Week, the founder of the CFDA, the founder of the former Coty Awards. So she started this Met Gala to raise money for the Costume Institute for its first opening exhibit in 1948. Now, Tiana, you're going to love this. Guess how much the tickets cost in 1948 to go to the Met Gala?
Uh, $5?
No, come on, Tiana. No, it wasn't $5 now. It was $50 compared to $75,000 for a ticket now. So you see, inflation is a mother.
Which year was the first year that they had the Met Gala?
1948.
Okay, so it was, but $50 at that time was
Well, it was
pretty.
a lot of money for people, $50, right? And it wasn't held at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. It was held at various venues all around New York City, from the Waldorf Astoria to the Rockefeller Center's Rainbow Room. And when Diana Vreeland, the great fashion editor Diana Vreeland, took over the Met Gala in 1972, she brought in the celebrities. So it wasn't a celebrity event until 1972. So then she brought in people like Elizabeth Taylor, Diana Ross, Cher, Barbara Streisand, Liza Minnelli, blah, 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 blah. And when she took it over, that's when they moved it back. That's when they moved it to the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Now, Anna Wintour is now the chairman of the Met Gala. She's been there for quite a few years, a couple of decades actually. And of all the information I could gather in 2022, the Met Gala raised $19 million for the Costume Institute. So it's a big deal. And Diana Vreeland also but she introduced themes. So we didn't have themes for the Met Gala until Diana Vreeland took over in 1972.
But also, I do believe that it's 75,000 per ticket after you donate.
Yes,
So
correct. You got that right. Yes.
You can purchase a ticket only if you already donated.
Right. You have to donate money before you pay the 75,000. 75,000. Yes. Okay.
So let's talk about the theme this year. What will be the theme? What are people expected to show up in?
Well, the theme is super fine, tailoring Black style. So this theme was inspired by Monica Miller's 2009 book, Slaves to Fashion, Black Dandyism and the Styling of Black Diasporic Identity. And this theme was picked by the chief curator, Andrew Bolton, and Monica Miller, who's a professor of Africana Studies at Barnard College, which is a part of Columbia University. Shout out, Kristopher. We know you're a Columbia University graduate. But so she had this book out. I actually have the book, and that is the theme. Now, this is only the second time we've had a menswear theme for the Met Gala. The first menswear theme was in 2003, men in skirts. So this is really going to elevate menswear. We expect to see celebrities wearing very gender neutral clothes, gender bending clothes, which, Janelle Monáe does that anyway. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that comes about. And just to give people a little history who might not know what dandyism is, a dandy is a man that loves style. So he's very well groomed. He's very well manicured. He loves bold color. He loves his garments tailored. He loves to wear a lot of jewelry. Dandies back in the day, we didn't call them dandies then, but think of Louis XIV was a dandy of sorts. The Scarlet Pimpernel from the famous book was a dandy of sorts. I did a play in college by Moliere called George Dandin. I played Clytondra, a dandy. And remember, back in the day, men wore powder. In Europe, they wore powdered wigs, they wore makeup, beauty marks, they wore heels. It wasn't necessarily an indication of their sexual preference. It was just men who really gloried and were a little vain in how they looked. And I'm actually working on an article now about dandyism, which you guys can find on fashionreverie.com.
So what do you think happens after the red carpet of the Met Gala? Something that maybe it's not that covered in the media.
Okay. Well, I'm going to give you guys a couple of little secrets. Most photographers are not allowed into the Met Gala. Only a select few get to go inside where they have a dinner and they actually get to see the exhibit for the first time. Very few photographers are allowed in. Second little secret, many of the garments that the ladies and some of the men are wearing are very uncomfortable and they cannot sit down in those garments. So many of them change clothes once they go into the dinner. They go to the bathroom or wherever they go and they change garments because some of those garments they don't want to sit down in because they could ruin those garments if they sit down. Some of those garments are $50,000, $100,000 custom made pieces just for that red carpet. And my last little tip is the celebrities on the red carpet don't pay to go to the gala. They are sponsored by the garment, the brand houses or the design houses that they're wearing. So that say you're wearing a custom made Chanel garment. Chanel will buy 2 or 3 tables. Everybody at that table's ticket is paid for. So if you are a celebrity on the red carpet wearing a custom Chanel piece, you don't pay. So the money is raised otherwise. It's not coming from most of the celebrities on the red carpet.
Do they have a choice if they want to attend, if a celebrity wants to attend, but the person is not sponsored by a
If they're
brand?
not sponsored, then they have to pay. Exactly.
And so what do you think who will show up this
Well,
year?
well, let's talk about who some of the co-chairs are. I forgot to just say that. The co-chairs of the Met Gala, of course, Anna Wintour, then Coleman Domingo, who we love, Academy Award nominated actor, who I'm sure has incredible, great style. He is definitely going to show up and show out. Pharrell Williams is one of the co-chairs, A$AP Rocky, Lewis Hamilton, who's a race car driver, and LeBron James is an honorary chair. So we have a lot of interesting Black co-chairs for this themed gala. And of course, I'm sure Janelle Monáe is going to show out in a very interesting garment she does every season. But this will be more dandy inspired. So I'm kind of interested to see how she's going to pull that off. Also, Billy Porter's going to be there showing up and showing out in a very dandy-ish kind of outfit. Sarah Jessica Parker is always an interesting look, but she's always kind of very feminine and girly. So Tiana, what do you think? How would she incorporate this? I'm just asking you.
Well, I do think that she will have some kind of a headpiece, but maybe it will be a hat this time or something more masculine. I don't know.
Or maybe a jeweled pinstripe suit or something,
I don't see her in the suit, but
You don't see her in a suit?
let's see. Yeah.
So, I mean, this is a very interesting thing because it is menswear. So, the red carpet is really predominantly filled with female celebrities. So I'm just kind of interested to see how they're going to pull this off. Zendaya, for instance, how is she going to pull it off? Now, I can see her in a pinstripe suit, a jeweled pinstripe suit. So I wonder what Laura Roach is going to do for her.
I do think that it will be Rihanna that will sort of take the stage again.
Yeah.
So given A$AP is on the board.
Yeah,
correct?
he is.
So yeah, let's see. It's exciting. It's always the most exciting red carpet. So
It is of the
in the
year.
United States. So
And viewers, please don't forget to go to fashionreverie.com and read my article on dandyism and read Marley Gifford's pre-coverage of this great red carpet event.
well, thank you, William. I will look forward to commenting with you after the red carpet.
Thank you. And thank you for having me. And Cicely, we're so glad you're back. And let me tell you, Cicely, don't you give tickets just to Tiana. I want some tickets too. Okay.
Thank you, William.
Well, viewers, I'm so glad to be back. That was a great segment. And that is it for this episode of Fashion Reverie Talks.
We would like to thank Fashion Reverie Associate Editor Kristopher Fraser and Fashion Reverie Editor-in-Chief William Gooch. Thank you for appearing on Fashion Reverie Talks.
For information on these and other stories, go to fashionreverie.com. And don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. Thanks for watching. We'll see you the next time.